Welcome back to Riyadh. It is the Four Crowns Showdown and Fight Week continues. The stars of Saturday night will be in this ring for the live open workout, and we're here to guide you through every hook, every jab, every moment, and you're going to hear from the fighters. And to break it all down, look who I've got with me, Mr. Andy Clarke, Mr. Matthew Macklin. How are we, gents?
Very well, thanks, very well.
Yeah, good. Looking forward to these workouts.
Are you getting more excited, Matt, as it's getting closer and closer? Are you getting excited, getting hyped up?
Yeah, I think so. I think as it gets nearer to Saturday night, it does steadily increase. And I think you see that with the fighters as well. They get a little bit edgier, a little bit more intense, a bit more narky. But it all builds towards what should be an absolutely fantastic show on Saturday night.
How much did you used to enjoy these workouts?
Sorry?
How much did you used to enjoy these workouts? Or did you enjoy these workouts? Middle of your fight week, you're probably trying to make weight and you've got to put on a bit of a show. How'd you find it?
Yeah, I suppose it depended on what I was weighing on that day. Yeah. how easy it was, how badly or how well I was doing the weight. It is what it is. These are promotional obligations. You have to do it. I don't expect we're going to see a lot of any of the fighters. But hey, you never know. Some of the lighter guys, the heavyweights, they don't have to make weight. They might show a bit more.
Andy, just to ensure we retain the viewers, we are going to see a lot from everyone tonight, right?
Well, one thing I've been thinking is that because of the time of night we're doing this will be exactly the time that some of these will be expecting to fight. So for that reason, those fighters on the schedule might do a little bit more than others. Some might actually go and train for real after this. If you were top of the bill, for example, they're expected to be in more like about midnight. But for the ones who are in the middle of the card, 9, 10 o'clock at night, that might be exactly when they're on. So they might fancy doing a little bit more for that reason.
Do you know what's interesting? I never know what to expect. When it was Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk, I didn't expect anything. But we actually got, for me, what was a brilliant clip. Alexander Usyk came up to the balcony where the stream was, and he watched every second of Tyson Fury's workout. It was a great shot with the camera behind him. So you might get something, you never know. I do wonder if Beterbiev and Bivol will watch each other, or if they just don't care.
You can get some mind games sometimes, can't you? Because I was talking to Dev earlier about Joshua against Klitschko at Wembley, and I'm sure you remember that one, Matt, where Klitschko just plunked a chair in the middle of the ring and got his hands wrapped for about half an hour, and basically he was just flexing, wasn't he? He was just saying, listen, you've all been waiting for me, I'm the main man here, and I'll do what I want. And sometimes you get some of that, but Usyk was great. That was a really good visual, and a little bit of mind games every now and again during workouts is always fun. Somebody's probably going to turn up.
It's almost like very subtle psychological warfare, almost one-upmanship, just trying to sort of put the other guy down in his box to make him feel inferior to you in a very subtle way, like you say, making them wait that bit longer.
There's other things as well, and again, it's a Tyson Fury related one. He just comes to mind to me as he does things at these workouts. Do you remember when he sang to Vladimir Klitschko? I mean, could we see Beterbiev sing to Bivol tonight? Could that be in store in about an hour's time? What do we think, gents?
I mean, it's unlikely, isn't it? Stranger things have
I
happened.
I wouldn't put money on it.
Stranger things have happened, but not many.
Yeah. I think the heavyweights could give us something. They haven't got to mess about, trying to make weight or anything. So I look forward to that. And on the heavyweights, Frazer Clarke, Fabio Wardley. Right now, a couple of days out, who's your favourite heading into that rematch, Matt?
Do you know what? It's a tough one to pick. So before the first fight, I leaned to Wardley. I thought Wardley, had been a little bit more experienced as a professional, younger and more athletic, hit a bit harder, and I went with him. I don't know going into this rematch. That nose is an issue. Now he assured us last night that it isn't. But you only have to look at it. It is. Now, what impact that will have on the fight, like I say, he's already mentally prepared that it's going to happen, it's going to open up, whatever. But, look, it's not going to affect him in the sense that it would if it was above the eye. Yeah. But it's still not ideal, is it? I think they'll both be better. Now, who improves more from the first fight? Who can make those adjustments tactically and execute the new game plan? That's the guy who'll win the fight.
You had a close inspection of the Wardley nose. You asked him about it yesterday on this very stage. So what do you think about this nose situation? Inevitable, it's going to open up. Will it be a factor?
they're both convincing, aren't they? The pair of them, Frazer and Fabio, when you asked him any question, and he was when we asked him about the nose, because he said, listen, it's been sorted out. Yes, it probably will open up again, but my nose wasn't broken. It's just a cut. Yes, it'll bleed, but as Matt said, it's not going to get in my eyes. It's not going to affect my vision. It'll look great for all of you on TV, but it's not going to affect me at all. And logically, that makes quite a lot of sense, but you're still losing blood, and quite a lot of it came out of that cut in the first fight, and it's just not something you really want to have to cope with. But as Matt says, if he's already prepared for the fact, which he will be, that it's going to happen, then I don't think it's going to be too much of a factor.
I'll tell you what, the build-up has been quite interesting in this fight. In the first fight, I think they were fairly friendly. It's fairly good-natured. At the final press conference, for example, they were joking. They knew they were going to have a big fight on the Saturday. This time, it feels like there's a little bit of an edge. This time, it feels like Wardley is just starting to wind up Frazer Clarke, Matt.
Yeah, he's got that sort of cheeky personality where he's you don't get. It's not distasteful. It's never distasteful with Wardley, but he is trying to just put him down a little bit. Edges. Sort of like show his superiority. And I think even though Frazer laughs it off, if I was Frazer, it would irritate me a little bit. And that's obviously his point. That's what he's trying to do. That's what he's trying to achieve. Look, he's a confident guy, and he always says as well. Listen, you could say they're both learning still, but Frazer's been a boxer a long time, and even though it was in the amateur game, he was boxing at a high level for a long time. Wardley, came through the white collar route, so that fight was massive for him, like in terms of experience, and like I say, that's not to say it wasn't that Wardley didn't, Frazer didn't learn from that fight. That was his first real professional fight.
That was welcome to the pros.
But in terms of the overall boxing career, Wardley's still the more inexperienced guy out there.
Did anyone ever wind you up in your career, another fighter where you've got to fight them on the Saturday and you're thinking, I'm really going to try and put a beating on this guy because of what he said on Tuesday? Has that ever happened?
Do you know what? I was lucky, really. I never really had that. I had some good fights. There was some rivalries. The Battle of Birmingham with Wayne Alcock. There was the local, I wasn't from Manchester, but I was training in Manchester and I fought Jamie Moore. But they were both good lads. So yeah, there was a rivalry, and it was real. But do you know what I mean? I didn't dislike either of the guys. So I'd hate to be fighting someone. I don't know. I'd hate it. It'd be a different experience if you're boxing someone that you actually really don't like.
Who's your favourite heading into this one, Andy?
I change my mind most days, to be honest with you, because as I say, I do find them both convincing, and what they come up with, the pair of them, it is logical, it does make sense, and I do feel like they will both make the adjustments. I feel like Frazer will have worked harder to keep his shape for longer, use that technique which allows you to punch with more economy and keep more gas in the tank. I think he will be trying to look for a way of picking up those incoming shots that appear on the radar late, those big wide unorthodox shots of Fabio's. He'll be looking for some kind of tell. Ideally you have one. If you don't, then you've had more experience of it now, so it won't come as quite such a surprise. I think Fabio will look to try and up his percentage of just clean straight punches, because he's effective when he uses them, and again, they don't take as much out of your tank, and maybe he won't be, I was going to say he won't gas like he did in the second half, but he never actually did completely gas. He just looked like he was going to. So this is what makes it such a good fight, and they are entertaining. I enjoy their company. Fabio was great yesterday, and it's just little things like Matt said, where he says, Frazer Clarke's 42. Is he 42? I don't know. He might be.
He called him 56 the other day.
56, 42. All that stuff. It's good fun. He's genuinely quite witty, so it's entertaining. You don't listen to it and just roll your eyes and just think, oh God, here we go again. It's quite, I'd imagine that today, during the course of the day, you might be thinking of something else that he could say today, or something else he could say to you tomorrow. For him, it's just as much about entertaining himself, I think, as it is everybody else, because these weeks are long for fighters. They are long.
Yeah. Look, but he's got it. He's got that bit of it factor, has Fabio Wardley. Of course, that's a huge fight, big rematch, Wardley-Clarke 2. Let's talk a little bit about the main event. I don't think we fully got into it yesterday in terms of who our picks are. I think initially you said Beterbiev, and then we got kind of sort of interrupted. Is it still Beterbiev? Have you changed your mind? What are you thinking, Matt?
I do. I think Beterbiev, I have done for a while. That's no disrespect to Bivol. I think he's a top fighter, and Beterbiev will have to be at the top of his game to beat him. And if he's slipped a bit, which he could have done, he's not getting any younger, is he? Then, it might not go his way. But he was so impressive, Beterbiev against Callum Smith. I was like, wow, because Callum Smith's a good fighter, big light heavyweight as well, and it wasn't that he beat Callum, it was sort of how one-sided he beat him. Shocked me a little bit, and I was like, and it ain't just his power. He's a good fighter. His ring generalship. He knows when to step on you when he wants to get the rest. He doesn't get so close to you where you can get underneath him, grab him, get into a clinch and run the clock down a bit. His feet are unbelievable. It reminds me a bit of Golovkin in that way. Reminds me of Golovkin in a lot of ways. He's a beast, man, and I think he'll win.
So you're Beterbiev today. Today's Wednesday. We'll ask you again tomorrow. What are you thinking right now?
I Beterbiev today as well, but that's largely because I went to see him train briefly last night, and these kinds of weeks with genuine 50-50s, whoever you've spoken to last or whoever you've seen last is generally the person who you'll think is going to win. If you do 2 gym visits in the same day, then your head just ends up being all over the place because they both convince you. But watching him last night, I love watching fighters in the gym when there's no real cameras and it's just their place of work and they're just getting down to doing what they've done day in, day out for years and years and years. And Matt mentioned his feet, and boxers' feet are they're just so good to watch because there are so many sports where footwork really matters, but particularly boxing. And fighters just have this kind of connection to the floor, to the earth, that normal people don't have. They just know where their feet are to the millimetre at all times. They just have this feel for what's underneath them and where they need to be. I reckon I can tell how kind of athletic somebody is or how good they are at sport by watching them walk. Because athletes just have this kind of easy tread. I mean, I sound a bit unhinged saying this. I'm aware of that, but when you watch them, it's just kind of amazing. Both feet move like it's one foot. They're kind of slipping and sliding, and it's like they're being controlled by some kind of other force than just the brain. I mean, it's something else. And Beterbiev's got that. He's got that absolutely, because they're always right underneath him where he needs them.
Wow, I've never heard a breakdown like that of people's walk. Very good. Apart from maybe the Bee Gees back in the day, you can tell by the way I use my walk.
Check that coffee, man.
Come on.
No, but it's if you watch, the rest of us. If you're lucky enough to be able-bodied, walking is a fairly straightforward thing. But every now and again, we'll slip, we'll stumble, we'll misstep. Athletes don't do that. It just never happens.
Nice. Let's talk a little bit about Dmitry Bivol. Now, I think he's actually the favourite, a slight favourite heading into this. Yeah. You've both gone with Beterbiev. I think Beterbiev too. Why do we think Bivol is the favourite? What is it that maybe the bookies are seeing? How are those odds out there? What do you think?
I think that's largely influenced by the fact that he beat Canelo, and that was a massive win. And for that reason, more people will know who he is. I think it's as simple as that. And that was a massive win, and he deserved a lot of plaudits for it. And then he beat Zurdo Ramirez, who was undefeated at the time, so he had an absolute mega year that year. And he's really, really good. This is a close fight. His credentials are absolutely exceptional as well. But I think that's probably why he's the favourite, because he's got that Canelo win.
I think, he's probably more known to the casuals. And like you say, beating Ramirez as well. But also, he's the younger guy. I think people probably think that's a big factor, which it could be, because you never know. You've seen it many times over the years. A fighter get old overnight almost, and it wouldn't have been overnight, but you're seeing it happen in that one fight. And this could be that fight for Beterbiev.
Yeah, it feels like we've been saying that for a while. It feels like every fight, maybe this is the one where he's too old, he gets old overnight. Tell me a little bit about Bivol's win over Canelo Alvarez. That is the standout name on his resume. Of course, one of only 2 men to beat him. How much can we read into his win over Canelo? Does it give him any edge heading into this? Well,
look, Canelo, obviously a smaller guy, compared to, comparing him to Beterbiev and the firepower at that weight. But what was impressive with Bivol in that fight was he didn't get overexcited. He just kept it basic. He did the simple things really, really well, and it was enough. You know, I'd imagine it'll be similar. I just don't know if he could do it for 12 rounds and keep Beterbiev like he did Canelo. Canelo was, you know, quite a bit smaller.
Yeah, it seemed to kind of come out of nowhere, because Bivol's form heading into that fight wasn't great. Of course, he kept winning, but he was having closer than expected fights with the likes of Craig Richards. Probably why he ended up getting himself a Canelo fight. So it kind of did surprise me that he did that job on Canelo, considering the form heading into it.
True, but Matt's been saying this during the course of the week, and I think he's absolutely right, is that Bivol boxes to the standard of his opponent, and generally he'll do enough to win, but he won't really put his foot on the gas necessarily, which sometimes is a bit frustrating, but you can see why you would do that. And against Canelo, he was excellent. He was absolutely excellent. This later career Canelo does have some similarities with Beterbiev in that he does punch hard, and what he's tended to do to people is get into range and then just let them have it, landing wherever he needs to land. He'll kind of like beat on the shell, thinking that eventually I'll break it. The arms will drop, the forearms will drop, the gloves will drop, and then I'll take you out late. And that's not just what Beterbiev does, but Bivol had to be able to withstand that when there were times when he needed to tuck up, and he could do it. He had that shell-like defence. He protected himself well. I'm not sure he's going to be able to do that against Beterbiev. Is a difference between the two, because Canelo obviously was a super middleweight stepping up to light heavyweight, and Beterbiev is just a stone cold light heavyweight. Yeah,
and Canelo started his career at like junior middleweight, like middleweight, and he worked his way up. He's probably a small super middleweight, but Beterbiev, bona fide 175 guy who will go up. Canelo's not going to go up to cruiserweight, certainly not now. But I'm curious about those moments, Matt, where Bivol can't necessarily just keep away from 12 rounds. He's going to have to stand and face Beterbiev at some point, just like he stood and faced Canelo at some times. What's going to happen in those moments? They are the moments, right?
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? Look, he's going to have to get his respect. He can't just have Beterbiev walking all over him. So I'd imagine that'll be in combinations rather than hard single shots.
Well, let's head over to Thomas Driver.
From the Kingdom Arena in Riyadh, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We would first like to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and His Excellency Chairman of the General Entertainment Authority, Jia Turkey Al-Sheikh. This great event is being brought to you by Riyadh Season and the General Entertainment Authority, Jia, with Frank Warren for Queensberry Promotions, Bob Arum for Top Rank Incorporated, Eddie Hearn for Matchroom Boxing, Gold Star Promotions, Boxer, World of Boxing, and Sella. At this time, we would like to thank our great sponsors: Saudi Tourism Authority, Saudi National Bank, STC, Dr. Suleiman Al Habib Medical Group, Saudia Airlines, New Murabba Development Company, and Lucid Motors. A big thanks to those great sponsors. This great event will be shown in the UK and worldwide on DAZN, in the UK on TNT Sports Box Office and Sky Sports Box Office, and in the United States, the main event exclusively shown on ESPN+. Let's now get the media workout started. Our first two fighters competing this Saturday in a scheduled 4-round international lightweight contest. Let's first welcome, coming to us from Sucre, Colombia. He brings a professional record of 3 wins with 2 defeats. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Jesus Gonzalez.
Well, Jesus Gonzalez will kick off the open workout this evening. Glorious night here in Riyadh. And this cube that we are in is quite the setting. We're right next to the Kingdom Arena, where on Saturday night, two of the coldest characters in all of boxing will go to war. Artur Beterbiev, Dmitry Bivol, the main event on Saturday night. Two unbeaten light heavyweight world champions in a 4-crown showdown. But this is Jesus Gonzalez, kicks off the workout tonight. He'll have never seen anything like this before in his life. Depending on his performance, he may never see anything like this again, Andy. Let's have a look at him.
I think that's the way you have to approach it if you're him. He didn't seem too apprehensive about anything yesterday. It's easy not to be nervous early in the week, but he's got an idea of the scale of everything. I think it'll help characters like him that everything's in the same place, so you just get used to this space, basically, don't you? It takes the same amount of time to get here, roughly speaking, from the hotel every night. It allows you to establish a little bit of a rhythm and a routine. The arena's not that far away, and I think you can go and have a look at that pretty much whenever you like if you're a fighter or one of the teams, so you can familiarise yourself with things. But yeah, he has to think maybe this won't happen to him again, and he needs to make absolutely the most of it. What you absolutely don't want in these situations, if you're any of them, but particularly him, is just don't freeze.
Yeah.
Don't leave this with any regrets. Win, lose, draw. Just walk away thinking, I was given an opportunity there, and I took it.
Listen, if he does take it, I mean, he wants to be able to tell his children, his grandchildren years from now, remember that big fight? Yeah, I was on the undercard. If he doesn't put on a bit of a show, maybe he won't tell them. He doesn't want to look back embarrassed. But a good nod there, Andy, to the logistics of how close everything is, how everything's worked out here. It has been brilliant. It's been very, very helpful, the teams here. Good to be a part of. He's putting the gloves on now, Jesus Gonzalez. I think he's going to give us a little bit.
But that kind of stuff, I think in these weeks, they will really appreciate it, particularly the bigger names who are involved or have been involved in bigger fight nights around the world. We were in London a few weeks ago and it was absolutely spectacular. But we were dotted around the city as to where we went. We were in Leicester Square, which is bang in central London. Not the easiest place to get to if you're going to come by car. And everybody has to come by car. They can't get on public transport, although it would be a lot quicker. And then you're down by the Thames, and then you're over at Wembley Arena, and then you're in Trafalgar Square. The logistics of that week would have been a lot more complicated, and people would have taken a lot longer to get to things and to get back from things, and wouldn't really have known how long any of that was going to take. And that can take it out of you. Just sitting around spending time in a car when you'd rather be in your room, it can be quite tiring. You talk to fighters about that, and back in the day people would play tricks. I remember talking to Carl Froch about his fight against Jermaine Taylor, and all the fight week stuff was in New York, and they didn't really know he was going to be in New York, so they were up by the venue, which was quite a long way out of New York, and every day they were travelling into New York and back out of New York. And of course Jermaine Taylor knew, so he didn't have any of that to put up with. It can get you, but here there's none of that.
It's all close by. And you mentioned about Wembley Stadium. Yeah, I think stuff was dotted around all over the place, but my goodness, it was worth it. Some of the imagery, I'll never forget Trafalgar Square. Unbelievable week. That was Riyadh season in the UK. Riyadh season goes again on Saturday night. We begin again. I can't believe it's been 1 year, Andy. 1 year since we were out here for Tyson Fury against Francis Ngannou, where it all began, boxing's relationship with Riyadh season. And it's just been knockout event after knockout event after knockout event.
It has been. I remember it really, really well, because you sent me a WhatsApp saying, can you come to Saudi Arabia next week? And when I picked it up, I was in hospital because my wife was still in, because she'd given birth to our baby daughter the day before versus via emergency cesarean. So I had to wander back into the room and just say, can I go to Saudi Arabia next week, basically? And she said yes. And from then onwards, it's just been, what a ride. I mean, it's not looking like it's going to be over any time soon. It has been really spectacular.
I feel like they're just getting started, because it just seemed to be getting better and better. And thankfully, yes, Mrs. Clarke said yes, and we got you out here.
She's a business-minded woman,
yeah,
though.
very much so. Very much so. Just had a look at Jesus Gonzalez there, Matt. What did you make of his workout?
Yeah, he's just done a little shakeout, but what an opportunity for a young fighter to box on a card like this.
Well, let's hear from him.
I mean, Jesus, you are fighting on the undercard of one of the biggest fights we've seen. I mean, what about all of this? How did you find that?
Bueno, que vas a pelear en uno de los eventos más importantes del mundo, sino de la historia. Mira qué ambiente tenemos aquí. ¿Cómo te sientes?
Me siento feliz. La verdad, Dios me los bendiga a todos ustedes por asistir, por recibirme muy bien, porque la verdad hasta el momento he recibido una cálida bienvenida por parte de este país. Muy hermoso.
So he's over the moon. He's really very happy. He thank you all because everybody is treating him very, very nice. And Saudi Arabia, all the people here is very nice to us. So thank you, Saudi Arabia, as well.
Thank you very much, Jesus.
And now let's welcome to the ring from Riyadh, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, making his professional boxing debut this Saturday. Here is Mighty Mohammed Alakel.
Well, here comes Mighty Mohammed Alakel. What a night from him. There is the Saudi Arabia flag. Born in Riyadh, lives in Scotland now, trained by Joe Gallagher, wants to make a little bit of history. Big night for him on Saturday, Matt.
Huge night. His pro debut here in Saudi as well. He's from here. I seen him sparring a few weeks back in Joe Gallagher's gym in Manchester. Only had 6 amateur fights, but it looks pretty decent. There's definitely talent there, and he's working with Joe. He's been improving a lot. So, yeah, Joe's got good hopes for him.
Do you know what's been interesting? Well, I've seen a few of his interviews. He seems quite shy, just a kind of a shy young man. But then you speak to the camp, you speak to Macaulay McGowan, you speak to Jack Massey. This guy's a character. I think we're going to get something out of Mighty Mo.
He certainly sounds like it from what Joe Gallagher was saying about him. And right at the end of that chat, actually, true to form, as if to illustrate the point, he came over and said to Joe, didn't he, I can't get the lights to work in my room.
Yeah.
And Joe just said, he kind of rolled his eyes and said, it's the master switch.
Yeah.
I'll show you when we get back. So, athletes aren't always the most logical, particularly when you get closer and closer to a fight, but he's living in Manchester, he's studying mechanical engineering, I think, isn't he? So,
smart guy.
That's a big move to make, isn't it?
100%, and hopefully he did find the master switch. I'd imagine the lights are on in Mighty Mohammed Alakel's room, and I'm sure he'll be looking to switch off the lights of Jesus Gonzalez on Saturday night and start his career off with a knockout. Wouldn't that be good, Andy?
You see, this is why you get the big gigs, Dev. It's lines like that. It's lines like that. But look at that. That's a great overhead shot, isn't it? That
amazing.
blazing square of blue, and this is an incredible stage to make your pro debut on, and it'll be interesting to see how he responds to it, because it is a nerve-wracking affair. But one thing you know is that if you get taken on by Joe Gallagher, then he has to believe that you're as serious about this and as ambitious about this as he is, and he's very ambitious and serious about things.
Listen, Joe Gallagher would not be wasting his time if he didn't think Mohammed had something, definitely. Now, he knows it's a longer, slower project because he only had 6 amateur fights, but he's going to learn as a professional.
And certainly with the backing of Riyadh season, if he becomes a favourite here, this is a great place to become a favourite.
Oh, big time. You know, he'll have the crowd behind him on Saturday night, one of their own, and he will have a massive cheer when he gets into the ring.
Absolutely, looking forward to it.
We were down, well, just round the corner actually, at the Mike Tyson gym this afternoon, and we were chatting to the coaches down there, who are now Bobby Rimmer and Brian Rose. Brian Rose, former British champion, Bobby Rimmer, long-time trainer. And they're kind of responsible, not just them, but their coaching team responsible for bringing through Saudi fighters, because that's what they want. They don't just want these nights to be populated by overseas fighters. They want to bring through home fighters, and it will take a while, but that system, and they were detailing it, the way things are going to be run and are run currently, that system is already in place, because what you want is a local hero, local heroes. You want as many as you possibly can, because to get people into sport is that, isn't it? You need to be able to point at someone, relate to them, and just think, okay, if they can do it, then so can I. And it gives people a reason to really just get behind the fighters.
And the fact that there is that kind of local backing, there is that interest in raising the profile of boxing in Saudi Arabia, that interest in nurturing, bringing along talent here, is great news for the rest of the world, because it shows that Saudi Arabia isn't just here for a good time, it's here for a long time in the sport of boxing.
Yeah, we were in Mike Tyson gym earlier, and you know, they're investing on the grassroots, the young kids coming through. So yeah, this isn't just all singing, all dancing, millions, big shows. They are reinvesting to bring their own talent through.
And if you're prepared to put that kind of time and that kind of finance into something and back it in that way, you will see results. Because a good example in recent decades is the success that Great Britain has had in the Olympics, because it was a bit few and far between for a while. We'd have the odd star here, the odd star there, but people were to an extent left to their own devices. You'd hear stories from the 80s and in previous decades about how people were forced to train to try and prepare as opposed to their competition from maybe the Eastern Bloc at that point, where things were a lot more organised. They got a lot more funding from kind of the mid-90s onwards, and look at what's happened since. You know, it's not a coincidence.
Look, there's talent everywhere in the world, do you know what I mean? It's all about systems and culture and the coaching, you know, and bringing them through. And you need heroes, you need idols, you need people to look up to, you need people that have done it from where you're from. So then you believe, well, he did it, I can do it.
You can see in the background up on the ring, Marcus Morrison, Macaulay McGowan, of course Jack Massey, also trained by Joe Gallagher, in action on Saturday. There's a kind of family feel to the Gallagher gym. Once you're in there, everyone's behind you in the Gallagher gym.
Massively. I was saying it before with regard to the Jack Massey thing. Joe creates this, it's the world against us mentality, back us into a corner, that siege mentality. And there is, like I said, there's power in that collective belief. And boxing's, you know, professional boxing particularly, can be a lonely road, you know, a lonely sport. So to have that sort of real family camaraderie in the gym, you know, it's good to have.
Well, he certainly has that. Mohamed Alakel slotted into the Gallagher gym, part of the furniture there. Big night for him on Saturday. Professional debut. You only get one professional debut, and his one in Riyadh should be unforgettable. Let's hear from Mohamed Alakel.
Mohamed, this must be a really, really crazy experience for you, obviously walking out with the flag on your back. I mean, how did you feel during that?
Yes, you know, I'm very honored to be part of this big event. You know, it's only 3 days away and all the talking is done. You know, now it's time to perform.
I know obviously you moved to Scotland when you were really young, but you've been in London and Manchester to work with that man. How important has he been for you?
Yeah, you can't get any better with Joe. You know, he's a very experienced man when it comes to boxing.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next two fighters to the ring competing this Saturday in a scheduled 10-round contest. It will be for the IBF International Light Heavyweight Championship. Let's first welcome the challenger. Coming to us from Sheffield, England, he brings a professional record consisting of 23 wins, 6 defeats, with 10 wins coming by way of knockout. He is the former Commonwealth champion. Here is Liam Cannonball Cameron.
Well, I'll tell you what, Liam Cameron, a couple of years ago, would probably never have thought something like this was possible. This was a man in the depths of despair. He's changed his life around. He's here in a huge fight on a huge show on Saturday. What a time to be Liam Cameron.
Oh, big time, can't believe. Now look, his last performance was a good one. I know he got beat, but it was a close one. So he looks like a lot of belief and a lot of confidence from that. You know, and he'll look at Ben Whittaker and he's well aware of the potential and the talent, but he'll be thinking, yeah, but mate, this is the pros. You know, I'm a lot more experienced and seasoned and proven than you, and it ain't your time yet. That's what he'll be thinking.
And he has got that, Andy. He's got that seasoning, and it's not just a case of just professional stuff. He did well in the amateurs a few years ago now, but this is a good fighter.
Yeah, he is a good fighter. He was a Commonwealth champion at middleweight. He had that spell out with the ban for recreational drug use, and it was very, very difficult for him, but he's managed to come back, and that was a good performance against Lyndon Arthur, and he's going in there to win. He's going in there to give Whittaker a very, very serious test, and what he'll be thinking to himself is, this guy has got a high level of technical skill. We can all see that. He won an Olympic silver medalist. I'm not worried about that. I'm not looking to try and test that out and match him on that. I want to test his minerals. Has he got them to go with it? Because if he hasn't, then I will be able to find that out, and he's bang in trouble. Now, that's the way he's approaching this, Liam Cameron. And if he gets to the end of the fight and he's given Whittaker that acid test and Whittaker manages to pass it, he'll think to himself, all right, fair enough, you're the real thing, no shame in losing to you.
It's about dragging Whittaker into a fight, isn't it? Making him uncomfortable, because so far in his career, give or take a headbutt from an opponent here and there, Whittaker's had it all his own way, Matt.
Completely. He's been far too good for everyone who's boxed. There's been a couple of guys who have talked themselves up saying they're going to give it a go, but actually when it's come down to it, they've just survived. They've tried to ambush him and get lucky maybe once around, but ultimately they were in survival. They didn't really believe they could win. I do believe that Liam Cameron thinks he can beat Whittaker. He thinks that they've bitten off more than they can chew early doors. He probably knows that Whittaker's going to go on and have a better career, that he's more talented, he's got better potential, etc. But I think he feels that they've probably made this move a little bit too quick.
Yeah, just mistimed it. See Dalton Smith there, of course, all train in Sheffield together. Another gym where there's that family feel. And interestingly, Liam Cameron said he sees Ben Whittaker as a bit of a Prince Nassim Hamid wannabe. He says he's seen tons of them over the years come and go in Sheffield, and he just thinks he's another one of them.
Yeah, and he won't have the fear factor that people would have had with Naz, because now that dynamite in both hands, and as good as Ben Whittaker is, he's not a concussive banger, you know what I mean? So, yeah, he can make you look stupid, frustrate you, make you miss, make you pay, that type of thing. But he won't have the same fear factor as what, say, some of the opponents that Naz fought would have had.
Well, it's interesting, that has been a recent kind of criticism of Ben Whittaker. People are talking about his power. Maybe he hasn't necessarily got the pop to make it to the very top of the light heavyweight division. If he does a job on Liam Cameron, you can put all of those arguments to bed, right, Andy?
Yeah, you can, and I feel like Whittaker does have enough power. I feel like he probably does need to just slow his feet down slightly, hold them for another split second before he lets his hands go. But we saw him in the gym. He is tall and he's lean and he's got that sinewy kind of whipcord snap and strength about him, Whittaker. I don't really have too much worries about his punch power, but he does need to just set his feet a little bit more, maybe.
Well, you're looking at the Cannonball. Liam Cameron, big fight for him on Saturday night on the grandest stage of them all. In the light heavyweight division, of course, the main event, Beterbiev against Bivol.
And now let's welcome to the ring the defending champion from Darlaston, Staffordshire, England. He was a 2020 Olympic silver medalist, and now as a professional, undefeated with 8 wins. 5 of his 8 wins coming by way of knockout. He is the reigning and defending IBF International Light Heavyweight Champion, Ben the Surgeon Whittaker.
Will enter the Surgeon once again, taking in every moment. Born really for this kind of stage. He loves it. He loves the track. He loves the music. Will he love it in there with Liam Cameron on Saturday night? Because Liam Cameron's intention is to take this man to deep waters. And I guess we find out just how good Ben Whittaker is.
Look, I think Ben's really, really talented. He's got loads of ability. He's not a massive puncher. Power's not one of his outstanding assets, but he will stop people. He will knock people out because he's sharp. He's got good timing. He'll catch people with shots they don't see. You know what I mean? He'll break people down slowly as the rounds go on. I think he's got a bright future, and I think he has the ability. You know, there's lots of ifs and buts along the way, but I think he has got the ability to go all the way.
Well, he's certainly entertaining, is Ben Whittaker. I think he's got that potential, and he's got that flamboyance. He's got that flashy kind of character. Let's talk a little bit about the showboating, because you've had a kind of interaction with him before where he hasn't necessarily been too happy with your comments. You've stood your ground. I think you did so very well as well, Andy. But what are you expecting on Saturday, and is there anything that you don't approve of?
I think what we've seen over the last few fights is that generally he's kind of done less of it. I've got no problem with showing off. There's nothing in the rules about showing off. Referees will have a word every now and again, and that's a kind of personal taste thing on behalf of the referee, what they will and they won't allow. What I thought was a little bit too far, but we didn't take a condemnatory tone about it, is if you choose to tap someone on the top of the head, that's a foul, and you're choosing to commit a foul with the intention being to belittle your opponent and make fun of them. And I think when you enter into that ring, you're agreeing that you will, as much as you possibly can, abide by the rules of the ring. So I'm not a fan of anyone choosing to break them, even if that foul is completely inconsequential in terms of any physical harm it might do. That was my point. He wasn't a fan. We had an exchange. It was all absolutely fine. I feel like he is gradually going to do less of it. But we'll still see it from time to time, because it's not an act. It is him. He likes to do it.
Do you know what was so interesting? I was watching an interview with him earlier, and he said the sort of fighters that he'd look up to weren't really so much nads. They'd be like Tommy Hearns, people like that, where, you know, they didn't showboat. He watches himself back. He doesn't really like watching himself back, just hopping on one leg. He just finds himself doing it.
Yeah, look, I think that goading is part of his game. It's part of his tactics. He's after to destroy mentally, break their spirit within the fight. You know, because he's not going to break someone's heart through pain. It's more through the other side.
10-round contest. It will be for the women's WBC Featherweight Championship of the World. Let's first welcome the challenger, hailing from High Wycombe, England. Undefeated with 9 wins, 2 of her 9 wins coming by way of knockout. She is the current women's WBC International Featherweight Champion, the Omen, Raven Chapman.
Big fan of the song choice from the Omen, Raven Chapman. Bit of Metallica. Come on.
Yeah, she had a bit of Paint It Black yesterday. Yeah. She's choosing some proper tunes, isn't she? Well, that's quite the trio, isn't it? Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren and Teddy Atlas down at ringside. And of course this is Queensberry against Matchroom. Chapman, a Queensberry fighter, Skye Nicholson, a Matchroom fighter. Matchroom need a win. You know, you won't mind me mentioning it. It was 5-0 in the 5 versus 5 that Daniel Dubois did what he did at Wembley. So, you know, she's looking, Chapman, to keep that run going. She's been learning the drums, hasn't she, I think, in recent times. And when she was injured, when she had the shoulder injury, I think her boyfriend bought her a drum kit. That's a dangerous thing to do with an athlete. Just give them something else to obsess about that makes loads of noise. I would never have done that if I was him.
It's certainly a Queensberry versus Matchroom. It's of course the 5 versus 5 in June, part of Riyadh season. A clean sweep for Queensberry that night, 5-0. And I think Daniel Dubois' win over Anthony Joshua was probably worth about 400 points. This will be interesting on Saturday, because Skye Nicholson is the favourite against Raven. Skye Nicholson is making the second defence of her world title. Do you make her the favourite, Matt?
I think she is the favourite. But I wouldn't sleep on Chapman. You know, I think she's, like I say, a live underdog, absolutely. I know she believes 1,000,000% she's going to beat Skye Nicholson. She thinks Skye Nicholson's overrated, overhyped, and she's going to come a cropper. That's what she told us.
Well, one thing's for sure, we will find out. Stylistically, this is just an absolutely perfect fight. The pure boxer, the slick mover in Skye Nicholson against non-stop pressure from Raven Chapman, who will not be deterred by anything Skye lands on her, who will just be trying to hunt her down for 10 rounds or however long the fight lasts.
So she's doing some work southpaw here, just switching between the stances, and this is what you often see at open workouts. We talked about it earlier on. Maybe she'll do that on Saturday, maybe she won't, but it's something she might put in Nicholson's mind. Maybe Nicholson will come out and box orthodox here. That's the kind of thing we might see. I was thinking today though, and a friend of mine pointed this out to me, we had an absolutely great fight at the weekend between a kind of a slickster, if you like, in Henry Turner against a more rugged fighter in Jack Rafferty. Henry Turner being an iBox fighter as well, like Nicholson is. And Rafferty got to him late and got the stoppage. Now, you're not going to look at what's happened in another fight and let it affect your own tactics, but that's something that's happened to iBox over the last few days, and they've got a kind of similar contest on their hands here.
It's a very interesting point, that element of the boxer against the pressure, essentially, and Jack Rafferty was great that night against Henry Turner. Henry Turner will certainly come again, the much younger man in that fight. But Skye Nicholson will have seen that, would have felt that in the gym. And Matt, just on that, when one of your gym mates takes a loss, how does that kind of affect the gym? Does it affect you at all as the fighter? We're just talking about how Skye Nicholson's had a loss in the gym, Henry Turner took a loss, she's close to him. Would that play on the mind at all?
Yeah, it can do a little bit, because, you know, you like to think we're doing things right, we're a winning gym, you believe in your training methods, the coach, etc. So when one of the guys that you've been watching train hard with, work hard with, look good in the gym, you're confident he's going to win his fight, and then he doesn't, it can just sort of knock you a little sideways a little bit in terms of the belief in your preparations and your coaching. So even only subtly, you only need a seed of doubt.
Well, the Omen gets a few photos done, looks in tremendous shape. By the way, does Raven Chapman. And look at that tremendous view here in Riyadh. Unbelievable settings. You almost get used to it though with Riyadh season, but we shouldn't.
Welcome to the ring, the defending world champion from Queensland, Australia, a 2020 Olympian, now undefeated as a professional with 11 wins, 1 win coming by way of knockout. She is the reigning and defending women's WBC featherweight champion of the world, future undisputed Skye Nicholson.
Well, Skye Nicholson has not stopped smiling all week. She says it's not her first rodeo. She's been in big fights before. Defence number 2 of her WBC World Featherweight title. And she looks the part, Andy.
She absolutely does. She always does. She understands the business side of boxing. She understands the marketing side of boxing. And that's important, because you have to sell yourself. You have to give the company that are backing you a reason to give you opportunities, and she's absolutely done that. And when that WBC title became vacant, she took the opportunity. She's got a lot of skill. I wonder whether she does want to try and prove something. We talked about it yesterday. I wonder whether there will be times where, if she gets ahead on the cards and feels like she's got a comfortable enough lead, she will feel like she wants to hold her feet and just show everybody that she could do that too. It's just in a fighter's nature to do that sometimes. It won't be what the corner would recommend that she do, but I just wonder whether that would be something that she might fall for even. And Chapman will be definitely hoping so.
It's an interesting thought, because one of the key things that she will do, Skye Nicholson, is make her opponents look silly, make them look bad, have them swinging around, kind of almost mock them. Not quite Ben Whittaker style, but there's an element of that. So I wonder if she'd prefer to do that rather than try and force the stoppage at the end.
Yeah, I think she likes the showboating. I think she likes to not just win but look good doing it. And she's really confident, believes in herself. Yeah, and sometimes that confidence, that goading, it is part of your game. Like I say, breaking the spirit of the, you're not a massive puncher, but you can demoralise someone, making them miss, goading them, frustrate them and dishearten them in that way.
And she certainly enjoys seeing the frustration in her opponents. Of course, Eddie Lamb there, taking Skye on the pads. Bradley Skeet watches on. Solid, close-knit team, here to defend that crown on Saturday night. History, the first female fight of Riyadh season, the first female world title fight in Saudi Arabia. Skye Nicholson, Raven Chapman, Saturday night. Can't wait.
And she does use that lead hand really well. She's not thrown too many jabs here, punching a little bit more in combination than you typically see her during a fight, but she's quite tall for the weight and she's got long arms, and she plants that jab up from low and gets real extension and snap on it, and fighters have found it very difficult to get past it, and she's nice and loose with it, so it doesn't really take anything out of her, and she throws it a lot. Chapman has got to find a way past that jab. If she can't, then she'll lose. If she can and get onto the inside and bring it to Nicholson up close, then we'll find out whether she can cope with that. There's no evidence to suggest that she can't. She just hasn't had to yet. But that, to be honest, as neutrals, we are neutrals, you're not, obviously. That is what we want to see. We want to see Chapman get past that jab, Matt, and then see what Nicholson's got up close.
She can't stand the outside. She'll get her head boxed off. She's got to get inside that jab, take the fight to Nicholson, push her back, force the pace, make her feel uncomfortable, force her into making mistakes so then she can counter for it. She just lets Nicholson dictate on the jab and keep it. You're in a fight, you've got to try and control, dictate the terms. Certainly don't want your opponent dictating the terms, and that's like the distance and the pace generally it's fought at. So yeah, she's got to get close.
Well, she's certainly enjoying herself here tonight on a glorious evening in Riyadh, of course. Decorated amateur as well, Skye Nicholson, Commonwealth Games gold medalist, Olympian as well. She's got the credentials. She talks about wanting to be the best female fighter of all time. If she keeps winning, keeps adding names to the resume, hey, maybe she can get there. She certainly believes she can.
She definitely believes she can. I believe her confidence. Raven Chapman doesn't believe her confidence. She's seen her more than me, but I believe the confidence. And I tell you what, those two have done a decent amount in there as well, haven't they? Chapman and Nicholson. They've taken to the stage. They've really enjoyed it. They've given it a good workout. They're obviously bang on with the weight. Preparation is going absolutely how they would want it to go, which is why they've been able to do that.
Competing this Saturday in a scheduled 12-round contest. It will be for the vacant IBO middleweight championship of the world. Let's first welcome from Białystok, Poland. His professional record consists of 25 wins, 2 defeats, 2 draws, with 8 wins coming by way of knockout. He is the former world title challenger, Kamil Szeremeta.
Well, there is an intensity to Kamil Szeremeta. He's been pretty adamant he is not just here to make up the numbers. Quite a chilling ring walk he's gone for here. He will be taking on Chris Eubank Jr. on Saturday night. Former European champion, this is a solid test, and Eubank might have overlooked him.
It's possible. It's always possible. That's an atmospheric choice of tune. I like this, and you look at him there, big deep breath, puts his hand on his heart, makes his way to the ring. We've outlined his credentials. Former European champion, former world title challenger. Since then, that happened in 2020, he's kind of been treading water and staying in the game. This opportunity has come. He kind of looks to me, Matt, like a guy who's worked very, very hard on his boxing career. He's achieved a decent amount, and he's maybe approaching this just thinking, this could be, win, lose or draw, my one last big night. I don't know exactly how much I've got left, but I'm going to pour all of it out there on Saturday.
Yeah, I make you right. He's got nothing to lose. Absolutely nothing to lose. And you know what? We don't know what Eubank's got left. You know what I mean? It was a good performance against Liam Smith, but Liam Smith wasn't right. So, you know, and that's not I don't want to take away from his winning, because he did what he had to do. And he was coming back off a defeat, so, you know, kudos to him in that regard. But sometimes we don't know how good that win was till we see the box again and see what that performance is like.
That's the thing. What if the first fight with Liam Smith is more of an indication as to where Chris Eubank Jr. actually is? We don't know. Liam Smith, as he said many times, look, he wasn't right heading into that. So Liam Smith stopped Eubank the first time. I know he was out on his feet, but the referee counted it off. What if that was Chris Eubank Jr.?
Yeah, look, I don't know if Szeremeta is good enough even to beat that Eubank, you know what I mean? But he's at the stage in his career where he's got absolutely nothing to lose, so he'll throw the kitchen sink at him.
He's just given me the vibe of someone who's taken all this in, because this might be the last time. It's going to be the last time maybe on this kind of stage, certainly if he doesn't win, but he's just given me that feeling that Saturday he's just going to give it absolutely everything and see what happens. And we always feel like every fighter does that all of the time, but it's not always true.
Well, let's hear from Kamil Szeremeta, who joins Olivia.
Kamil, did you enjoy that?
Czy podobało ci się?
Wszystko mi się tutaj podoba.
I like it, everything in here.
Your last fight ended in a draw. What did you learn about yourself from that fight?
Czego się nauczyłeś o sobie do tej walki?
Tego, żeby nigdy się nie poddawać i walczyć do samego końca.
Never give up and fight till the end.
How much of Chris Eubank Jr. have you watched in preparation for this fight?
Ile oglądałeś Chrisa Eubanka Juniora?
Wszystkiego, 5 ostatnich jego walk, na tym się wzorowałem.
I watched his five last fights.
And are you going to stay to watch him in his open workout today?
Czy zostajesz, żeby go oglądać tutaj na treningu?
Nie, podczas przygotowań za dużo się naoglądałem i skupiam się bardziej na sobie.
No, I have enough and I am focused on myself.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And now let's welcome to the ring from Brighton, England. His professional record, 33 wins, 3 defeats, with 24 of his 33 wins coming by way of knockout. He is the former British champion and former IBO super middleweight world champion, Chris Eubank Jr.
Well, here comes Chris Eubank Jr., one of the most talked about characters in boxing, making his Riyadh season debut, and delighted to be joined in commentary by maybe one of the greatest coaches of all time, certainly one of boxing's best minds, Teddy Atlas. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Very, very good. Well, what do you make of Chris Eubank Jr.? Have you followed much of his career?
Yeah, no, he's had his development moments, you know, and I think they're still in front of him. I believe he's still developing, you know, and he's a guy that obviously is fairly versatile. You know, he can fight with you. He can also use his legs, use the ring. I like versatility. I like options. You know, it's always good to have options. If I have a car and it's a convertible, I can take the roof. I like that. I need the roof on. I keep it on. I can take it off. I like the opportunity to change up a little bit. And obviously he's a natural promoter too, like his father. I think that's probably where he learned it.
He's got that showmanship. Andy, great to have Teddy Atlas with us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Me and Matt spoke to you a year or so ago, Teddy. You were very generous with your time. You helped me out with the book I did last year, which was absolutely great.
Good luck with that.
No, it was an absolute pleasure to talk to you about it. With regard to Eubank, he does seem to go through trainers. He's had quite a lot of trainers. You've trained all sorts of different fighters. Is that a problem? What does that kind of tell you about him?
Well, that's why I said that at first glance when you asked me the question, that he's still a work in progress. Because that kind of speaks to what I'm saying, that he's still searching. Because, you know, if you were settled in where you were and where you were going, I don't think you'd be looking for other guys. So that I'm glad you brought that up, because I didn't just say work in progress just to mix words. I think he's still searching, and for whatever it is that he thinks he needs to complete him as a fighter. And obviously he thinks that he needs to go to other guys to do it. There's two sides to that. There's an inconsistency where, you know, you're trying to learn one thing, and then all of a sudden you got somebody else teaching you something else. You don't have that consistency. But if you can learn more knowledge from somebody else, you know, then obviously there's that argument. But for me, the most important thing for a fighter, to your point, is to have an identity. And if you go from trainer to trainer, it's kind of hard to get an identity. You know, and when I say identity, a lot of people might say, what do you mean, Teddy, identity? He knows what his name is. He knows what his social security. You guys using social security numbers over here? I don't know if you do. But he knows all that. But I mean an identity when you get in that ring. That not 1 minute you're not Joe Frazier, next minute you're Muhammad Ali. You know, that you feel secure about what it is you're trying. Am I trying to control range? Am I trying to move forward? You know, am I trying to get angles? You know, what is my identity? And that's a real interesting point. When you go through that many trainers, it's kind of hard to mold into knowing who you are as an identity, and that can take a little longer. And obviously, all that matters is you get to where you want to go, and you develop in the way you want to develop. But it definitely can stagnate things when you're going from one guy to another.
Teddy, while we've got you, I think we've got maybe one or two more questions. I have to ask you about the main event. It's an incredible fight, and you've gone up against Artur Beterbiev before. Difficult fight for Bivol. What do you make of it all on Saturday night?
Anytime you get in there with Beterbiev, it's difficult. The guy's a nightmare. The guy's a boogeyman, you know, in a real way. Listen, the worst thing you can think about Beterbiev, or make the mistake of thinking, is he's just a good puncher. He's much more than that. I mean, look, Bivol's the more polished guy, all right? Without taking all day to explain it, he's more polished. He controls range. He's got quick hands. He puts punches together. You know, he can fight with you. Can keep you at the end of his jab. You know, and touch up. He can get angles. He can create traps. He can do all those things. The other guy's a sick and destroy guy, but it's almost not fair to say what I just said, that he's a sick and destroy guy, because he does it with a hard jab. He gives you a little feint. He keeps you off balance. He does a little move that I don't think anyone knows. If he notices your feet on set, pop, he'll jump in with a jab. No, I wouldn't advise any of you in the ring to jump in with a jab, because you can get caught on your way in. But he's smart. He sees the guy's feet are going out, and he says, oh, it's safe, pop. And this way he closes the gap fast. And people wonder, how'd he get on me so fast? That's how he got on you. So he does little subtle things that's more than just And I'm not being in any way disparaging to a man I respect as much as anyone. But he's more than a caveman who just brings a club. He's a lot more than that. And but he's also going to have, I think the burden's going to be on him to close the gaps a little bit, where Bivol can be very comfortable owning the outside. I think that Beterbiev at some point, Beterbiev is going to have to close the gaps. And you guys have heard what I said in the past. When you try to close the gap on a guy that's a good counterpuncher, that knows what he's doing, knows how to control range, knows how to, you come in 6 inches, he goes back 9, keeps a little bit of a gap. It's like going through a bad neighborhood. You could get mugged.
Absolutely incredible breakdown. I expected nothing less. Thank you so much, Teddy Atlas, for joining us.
My pleasure, guys.
Thank you so much. We'll have you again anytime. I'll grab that from you. Thank you, sir. Teddy Atlas, unbelievable. I'll tell you, Andy, I used to play Fight Night on the PlayStation. Obviously, I'm going to be playing Undisputed now, which is out. But he was the commentator on Fight Night, and he was just so great. So many great analogies. The way he breaks down a fight, the way he commentates. Remember Tim Bradley, We Are Firemen, all of that. What a character.
He is. It's an absolute pleasure to talk to him. He's always just intoxicating company, to be honest, and that was so interesting to listen to. And Matt, one thing that Teddy was picking up there is that Eubank going through trainers the way that he does, it suggests to Teddy that he's still searching for an identity, and that is an interesting point with him, isn't it? Because we felt like we kind of knew what he was earlier in his career, high octane, high punch output, that kind of a fighter. Then he went to Roy Jones and he kind of changed, and Roy tried to get him boxing like Roy, which and it's the ultimate compliment to Roy Jones Jr. Hardly anybody can do that. And then he's with Brian McIntyre, and now he's with Jonathan Banks. I mean, does he know what he is as a fighter, do you think?
No. What Teddy's saying is he's getting caught between styles, because he's not sticking with one trainer long enough to solidify and cement that style. Yeah, you're learning bits during the training camp, however many weeks you got together, you have a fight, but then you're with the next fight with a new trainer. So all the things that you worked on and your improvements and adjustments you made, it's kind of like out the window, and then you're doing new things again, so you never really nail your style.
Well, let's hear from the man who's been referred to for a few years as the bad guy. Chris Eubank Jr. will shortly join Olivia for an interview. Did the entire workout in native dress here. I'm sure the locals will have taken to that. Nice to see him with the new trainer there in Jonathan Banks. I'm just making sure everything looks meticulous before he gets on camera for this interview with Olivia. He is a character, but it's the first fight in around a year for Chris Eubank Jr. And the question is, this version of Chris Eubank Jr., what is he like? Let's find out.
Chris, I mean, I don't think many people were expecting you to come out in this. Explain your thinking behind it and why you decided to come out like that.
Listen, this is the traditional outfit of the Saudis. This is called a throbe. And it's a privilege to be here, and I'm respecting the community and the culture. And it's actually a perfect way to get an extra sweat out in this heat. I got to cut these extra few pounds at the end of this camp, so here we are.
I mean, you look like you were enjoying yourself there. You look like you worked hard, but you were dancing away to the camera as well.
I look incredible in this outfit. In fact, I might just wear this for the rest of the trip.
I think you should. It looks good on you. This fight week, you said you've been enjoying yourself and you're 13 months out, but how important and how big has this fight camp been for you building up to this fight?
Listen, every fight camp is important. Every fight camp is tough, and this has been no different. I've trained hard for a long time for this fight. It took extra time to get back into the swing of things because I've been off for a year. But I'm here. I'm fully focused. I'm fit. I'm a couple of pounds off weight right now. So we're ready to go.
And obviously after that Liam Smith rematch that you won, you've since changed trainers. What was the thinking behind that?
I like Jonathan Banks' philosophy, his mindset, and his teachings. I agree with the things that he says and the things that he does in training. He also trained Triple G for this exact same opponent, so he's got the ingredients and the know-how to beat this man. So, yeah, it's a perfect setup.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that was Chris Eubank Jr. He's a big character, as is this man here. Ezra Taylor, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm soaking up the whole Saudi experience, you know. It's amazing to be here. It's amazing to be right here as well, joined by yourself and the two men to the right. But yeah, it's good, you know, being able to see around the world champions as well, you know, Bivol, Beterbiev, and, you know, other people like Ben Whittaker. See my boy Frazer Clarke go in there and hopefully do his thing on Saturday as well.
Coming by way of knockout, he is the current EBU, European and Commonwealth Cruiserweight Champion, Jack One Smack Massey.
Well, here comes Jack Massey, who gets a big opportunity. He answered the phone. He said yes to this fight with Skye Opetaia. It's a big one, and he has come with all the confidence in the world. Jack Massey was asked yesterday, do you think that you can give Skye Opetaia problems? He said yes, and I can beat him. He believes it, Andy.
He has to believe it, otherwise there's no real point in being here. He put in a really good performance last time out against Isaac Chamberlain, where when we were heading into the home stretch, it was quite even, and then it was a question really of who was going to go out and get it in the last 3 or 4 rounds. Joe Gallagher gave him a G up, and it was Massey who went out and got it. He's a fundamentally sound boxer. He's got a tough task against Opetaia. Me and Matt saw him in the gym earlier today, Opetaia, and he is a formidable presence when you see him up there. He's in spectacular physical shape, and he's got that kind of intensity about him, and Jack's got to make sure that when the first bell goes on Saturday, that whatever plan that he's got in mind, he sticks to it. He doesn't panic if Opetaia looks to get really busy really quickly. And remember, this is a 12-round fight, and the guy in front of him, big reputation and all of that, you know, he is just a human.
Great to be in your company, Ezra. I think there's so many things that we can speak about. Skye Opetaia must be someone that you look at and think he's a guy on top of his game right now. How much do you rate Skye Opetaia, the world champion at cruiser?
Do you know what? I think I've probably got the biggest respect for him just because his mentality is crazy, you know. All the interviews he does, the things he speaks about, the reason why he does what he does, and the reason why he's world champion right now is something that I can relate to. And he's making light work of a lot of British boxers, so hopefully Jack Massey can come and do something, you know. He believes in himself clearly, but I know Opetaia believes in himself down to the ground. So it'll be an interesting fight, you know. He's game, but, you know, Opetaia, he's more than game, and that guy's a real soldier, you know. So, yeah, man, I'm excited to see what unfolds.
And Matt, just to bring you in here, Skye Opetaia has a big reputation right now. How important is it that Jack Massey is not listening to any of that?
Yeah, he won't be, you know what I mean? He's they're focused on what they've got to do, I think. But that said, I think it's important that he can get a good start and get into the fight because, you know, Opetaia, he's slick, he hits hard, he's a southpaw, he's very mobile, and if he gets into his groove early and starts landing, finds his range, could be a painful night for Massey. I think, you know, getting into the fight fairly quickly would be crucial for him.
So one thing I wonder, Ezra, is you've been watching these cards and you're seeing fighters get opportunities that they probably didn't expect to get, and they're getting decent notice in terms of being able to prepare physically, but they've got to wrap their head around it mentally. Have you taken any time yourself to think about, if this Riyadh season keeps running the next couple of years, have you taken any time to think about how you would handle it yourself if an opportunity in at the deep end came your way?
Do you know what? I don't even see it as in the deep end, because at the end of the day, we just go in the ring, and it's the same ring. You can put it in a car park, you can put it in Miami, but they're putting it in Saudi Arabia right now, and that's where the platform is. But with that, right now, I'm on work experience, you know, I'm circling all the atmosphere, and I'm seeing what people are doing, how they're acting as well. I'm able to share a hotel with all these boxers who are fighting. I want to see what their mindset's like, I want to see how they're conducting themselves, and I just envision myself, at some point, God willing, by next year, I want to be out here as well, just to fight out here, because it's something new, but it's something that's taking the whole boxing scene by storm. And as you can see, all these guys have got the the crazy opportunity to get, I guess, change their lives. Jack Massey, he was a replacement for Isaac Chamberlain, and he won that. He got the phone call, he won that. He got the phone call, now he's here, and potentially he can change his life from this opportunity. So I'd be a fool not to be able to soak this in now. So when it is my time, I'm taking it with both hands. It doesn't give me any mental pressure. I feel like I'm ready for a stage like this, but again, it's just step by step, you know. But right now, I'm just eyes on everything what's happening right now, and then when it's my time to shine, I'm gonna.
Well, you're not the only fighter who's been coming out here before actually having a fight scheduled. Frazer Clarke was out for Fabio Wardley against David Adelaide. He got up on the ring apron. I saw Hamza Shiraz out here before he was ever scheduled. It's a good thing to do, to soak it all in.
It looks like there's a pattern trending right now, right? So this is the second time being out in Saudi, and this time I'm allowed to be with Frazer. You know, I've been in his camp, I've seen what he's been able to do, and we're all very confident with him in this fight. You know, it's winnable, more than winnable, in a good way. And again, for me to be able to rub shoulders with someone who's taking the opportunity and is here now, it's an amazing thing. So, like you said, Dev, it's all possible, man. It's all possible.
It's definitely all possible. Just having a look if Jack Massey's going to grab an interview. He's posing for the cameras at the moment. Joe Gallagher has the skipping rope ready, but he is exiting the ring.
And now let's welcome to the ring the defending world champion from Gold Coast, Australia, a 2012 Olympian, now undefeated as a professional with 25 wins, 19 of his 25 wins coming by way of knockout. He is the reigning and defending Ring Magazine and IBF Cruiserweight Champion of the World, Skye Opetaia.
Well, this is a man who is all business. If Skye Opetaia had his way, he'd just go straight into the fight. There would be no workouts, there'd be no interviews, no press conferences. We would be at Saturday night already. He's got an intensity about him. He is seen by many as the best cruiserweight in the world, and he's also got a record of bashing up Brits, if we're honest, Andy.
He does. He was very impressive against Jordan Thompson. He knocked out Ellis Zorro in the first round with that long left hand. It was a rougher ride against Breedis, but we were down at the gym earlier, and as I mentioned, and I wanted to get to the bottom of what happened there towards the end of the fight, so I asked his manager, and he said what happened was in the 10th, Breedis caught him with the head, and he broke his nose, and there was a lot of blood. So some of it comes out the end of the nose, but a lot of it could go the other way, and it hits the back of your throat, and then you have to swallow it. And there could be a lot of it. So all of a sudden, you can't breathe out of your nose because it's full of blood. And you can't really breathe out of your mouth either because you're swallowing all the time. And all of a sudden, you've got a massive problem. And so that's why he gassed the way that he did the last few rounds. He felt like he was drowning from what Mick Francis told me. So that kind of clears that up. So he's been through a lot in that ring, a double jaw break and something like that. You know, these are things you have to handle.
But he gets through it, and he's unbeaten. He's a two-time IBF champion. He's just got something about him. His interviews, as you mentioned, Ezra, is so intense. A bit like yourself. Some of your interviews, you can start going a bit deep and really get intense. Just means so much.
It means a lot, and you can see it. You can see how he performs, but you can also hear it from his words. And like I said, that's why I can relate to it, I believe, 100%, because as you can see, he goes in there, no emotion. And that's what you're meant to do when you go in the ring, no emotion, and he displays spiteful performances every single time he gets in the ring. You know it's going to be exciting. You know he's got mad skill, and you know he's a handful. And I feel like he'll prove a handful for any cruiserweight out there. And even when he does get hurt, broken nose, Andy, like you said, broken jaw, he still prevails and pushes on. That's a hard man to fight in that ring.
Do you know what's been interesting, Matt? Of course, there's Chris Smith against Ramirez next month. And media, YouTube guys have been trying to ask Skye Opetaia about it. He just keeps saying, I don't care. I don't know why you're asking me.
Yeah, he doesn't care now. He'll care on Sunday morning, and that'll be the fight he wants, then the winner, absolutely. But, he doesn't want to lose his focus, and it's easy done. You know, people start talking up fights, you start getting back into it, and it does shift your focus. So, complacency is one of the most difficult things to guard against because it creeps in subconsciously. So, that's pretty smart to shut down those conversations. Look, we seen him train earlier. He only did about 10 rounds. Clearly a guy not struggling with weight when you're doing that on a Wednesday before a fight. This is just a little bit of a show for the workout here, but yeah, look, he looks razor sharp. Look, Massey has earned this shot. He deserves this shot. He'll give it an almighty go. But if this man's on song, could be a hard night.
Well, we may also be looking at a potential future opponent of the main event on Saturday. Bivol Beterbiev, should they win this fight, they may well venture up to cruiserweight. We know that it's a fight that His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh has talked about. I like the sound of that. I mean, Beterbiev has certainly got the size.
I was going to say certainly Beterbiev because he's coming down to make light heavy. Bivol, not so sure. He's a comfortable light heavy. There was even talk one time that he could maybe do super middle. So I think if Beterbiev wins, then that's more likely that fight could happen.
And what a fight that would be. And it just feels like it's all possible with Riyadh season. Look, Ezra, you've been watching on for the last year, really, as a fan, and sort of hoping to get in there. I'm sure you'll be in there before long. But what Riyadh season's done, the events for boxing, it's been incredible.
It's amazing, man. I can't lie to you. And then again, being here and seeing it firsthand in the flesh and what it can do for people, for the team, the dreams that can come true from doing it, it's an amazing thing. And again, I think there's every boxer sitting at the end of the seat wanting to get their teeth in, right? But you got to earn your shot at the big stage, and right now this is the big stage. It doesn't even matter if it's a world title shot or not. It's like winner stays on, and by rights, Opetaia came in, he done his thing, and he's the winner that's staying on right now. So when it comes Saturday night, everything can change. There's a lot of moving parts in boxing right now, but it's moving for the right reasons, and it's good to be a part of it.
Tell you what though, Opetaia is not overlooking Jack Massey. Listen to any interview, he believes it's going to be a tough fight. He knows Jack Massey is coming to fight. I'm hearing all the right noises about him not overlooking Massey.
I don't think there's really any chance of that, because when you spend a little bit of time around him and you speak to people who spend 24 hours a day around him, he lives his life, every second of it, with the same intensity that he brings to his boxing. That's just how he is in every single thing that he does. Now, it strikes me as being utterly exhausting to live your life that way, but he can do it. He's comfortable doing it. So he will be obsessing about Jack Massey at the minute. That's his dad in the ring there with him, by the way, Tapu. So he's trained him since he was a kid, and then he trained him as a pro until the fight before the first Breeders' fight. And then Mark Wilson came in. Something happened. There was some kind of falling out, I can only assume. They don't really want to go into it. And now he's back for the first time since then. And they're going to see how it goes. It's not necessarily going to remain in stone going forward. But it's father-son relationships in boxing. Some have been really successful, but they're rarely straightforward.
In a rematch scheduled for 12 rounds, it will be for the British Commonwealth and WBA International Heavyweight Championships. Let's first welcome the challenger from Burton-on-Trent, Staffordshire, England, a 2020 Olympic bronze medalist, now undefeated as a professional with 8 wins, 1 draw, 6 of his 8 wins coming by way of knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Frazer the Eraser Clarke.
Well, here comes Frazer the Eraser Clarke lighting up Riyadh. It's a huge fight for him on Saturday night, a much anticipated rematch with Fabio Wardley. And if it's half as good, a quarter as good as the first fight, then my goodness, we are in for some fight on Saturday. One of the best fights that we've seen so far this year. And I'm delighted to also now be in the company of a man who's got a huge fight on Saturday, Mr. One Smack Massey. How are you?
I'm all good, mate, all good. Glad to be here. You know, didn't have to do much in there tonight. You know, all the hard work's done now and ready for Saturday night. So just a little shake out, just a little touch around with Joe and, you know, like I said, all the hard work's done.
Will you take a moment to take all of this in? Because this is pretty amazing. This whole Riyadh season, all the events, all the fight week, it's a lot. It's amazing, right?
Yeah, definitely. You know, this is what it's all about. It's changing boxer over here, and, you know, back home watching on telly, it's nice to come over here and experience it myself and see what it's about and be on one of the biggest cards in history. So it's great taking it all and soaking it in. It's a good experience.
People talk a lot in boxing, Jack, about the ability to persevere because you never know what's around the corner. Sometimes, you know, stories like that, the power gets taken out of them. But with you, it's really true because things just weren't happening through no fault of your own. Nope. You rolled the dice against Joseph Parker. You then had to wait a while after that. Yeah. But now, I mean, it's amazing, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's not just in the boxing career as well, it's in life, you know. Before the Parker fight, I had the worst year of my life. Outside the ring and inside the boxing, it was, you know, felt like I just had a carpet swept beneath my feet. I was just like, wow. I was labouring for my brother on a scaffolding side, freezing cold, snowing. I was like, Jesus, you know, what's happening? And then on the scaffolding side, I got the phone call for the Parker fight, and it's just been, you know, it's skyrocketed from there. It's just been big fight after that. So it's you never know what's around the corner.
Do you feel like that experience against Joseph Parker stands you in good stead here? Because people talk about Opetaia being a big puncher, but you've been in with a full-blown heavyweight, and that's a performance that's aged really well too. Yeah. You've been in with a full-blown heavyweight, and you coped well. You won some rounds.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he's. I don't think there's anyone in the cruiserweight division what can punch as hard as Parker. You know, there might be guys what a better timing and faster, but punching power doesn't come any close. And look what he's done to, you know, the big guys. You know, after me, you know, he's put them to bed and put them to sleep. So I took his best shots and give it me all, and it's put me in great stead for this fight.
Opetaia's got a big reputation. He's getting a lot of hype. People are saying he's #1 in the world. Do you have to drown all of that out? Have you just got to focus on you and not listen to people saying about how amazing he is?
Yeah, listen, you know, people get a little bit excited, and it's one of those things. He is a very, very good fighter to watch. You know, you look at him fight, he's very, very good. You know, people can take that away and say, look, you know, he's not really fought anyone. You know, he's looked great against your Zorros and your Thompsons, and Breedis might be over the hill or whatever, but you can see watching him, he's a very, very good fighter. But listen, I've got a job to do on Saturday night. He's just an opponent to me, so yeah, don't really let it get to my head too much.
What do you think about this one? Got Frazer Clarke in the ring at the minute. It's a rematch. It's a British and Commonwealth title fight at heavyweight. It was an absolute epic at the end of March, and we've been talking all week, and we'll continue to talk all week about who can make the adjustments. Yeah. I mean, how do you view it?
I don't know. I can sort of see Clarke pulling it off. I've been thinking about it. I think Wardley might go out and try and do the same thing, where he's going to try and make it the same fight as the last one. But I think Clarke's going to be a little bit smarter than that, and try and you know, stay out of his way and box and move a little bit and be a little bit smarter in the ring. So I think Wardley will try and drag him into it at times, but he's just got to be a little bit smarter and not be pulled into that dogfight what the last one was.
Thank you, Jack. One smack, Massey. We're going to let you go.
Thank you very much.
Best of luck to you.
Cheers, guys.
On Saturday night.
And now let's welcome the defending champion from Ipswich, England. Undefeated with 17 wins, 1 draw, 16 of his 17 wins coming by way of knockout. Here is the reigning and defending British, Commonwealth, and WBA International heavyweight champion, Fabio Wardley.
Well, here comes Fabio Wardley as we just lose Ezra Taylor. Brilliant speaking to you, Ezra, and look at Fabio Wardley. He's just got that assuredness about him. He looks like he belongs here. He's got that star quality. He believes he will retain those titles on Saturday.
He absolutely loves it, doesn't he? You can see it. He loves every single second of it, Fabio Wardley. He enjoys fight week. He's one of these characters who genuinely just really enjoys fight week. He uses it as a way to pass the time. Time can stand still a bit for fighters during these days building up to a fight, but I think he engages with all this stuff in the way that he does because He finds it fun. He finds it fun, and he's good at it too. I can understand why he enjoys this.
Well, we are delighted to be in the company of his promoter, Hall of Fame boxing promoter Frank Warren. Frank, great to see you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very, very good. Listen, this is your man, Fabio Wardley.
Yep.
Fancy it on Saturday? Fancy this one?
I do fancy him. I thought he won the last fight, but I'm not getting into that. This one for him is a must-win fight for him. He's got the ability to do it, and I think he'll come through it.
And should he come through it, what are you looking at? Because he'll be the British Commonwealth champion, brilliant unbeaten record. Feels like the winner from this really moves on to big fights.
The winner of this next year will be in the mix to get to the stage by the end of 2025 after a few of these world title fights have taken place and the belts may fragment. So these guys are going to want to get in mandatory positions, and he'll be in some big fights. He'll be fighting the likes of maybe a Joe Parker or a Zhang and all those guys, but he's got to come through this fight.
Can I just quiz you on a little bit of other business whilst we got you here? I was very, very interested and excited actually to see that the WBO and IBF, I think, well certainly one of them, has mandated Hamza Shiraz for Janibek for those two titles. What are your feelings on that? Is that going to happen, or do you have other plans?
We'll see. I've got to speak with him first. I haven't spoken to him about it. We only found out about it this morning, and we'll see what happens from there. You know, he's capable of sharing the ring with any of those guys, and I believe he has the ability to beat them as well. But we'll sit down, look at it, and see what the options are, and then make our decision.
But we are looking at Fabio Wardley. Tell us why you signed Fabio. It seems pretty obvious, right? But give us a little bit of a sell on this guy.
Well, we give you a sell. Did you see his last fight?
I did.
Sold himself.
I did.
That's why we signed him. You know, he's a quality operator. He's competitive. He comes to fight. He's articulate. He does everything that's asked of him. He's got a great way about him. And most importantly, he can fight a bit.
He can also play the role of trainer here. He's taking Robs on the pads. Yeah. What is going on, Frank?
Well, all the hard work's been done now. It's just all this today is just a bit of show. But all the hard work's done, and we get down to the big fight on Saturday night. It's going to be interesting.
It has been interesting. I'll tell you, I don't think I've seen anything like this before, Andy.
No, this is a novel approach. I've not seen anyone do this, but this is typical of him, isn't it? You know, he likes to think about doing things a little bit differently and just having some fun, and he's having some fun with it, and it's great to see because this is a really serious business,
and he's relaxed.
He's very relaxed.
He's in a good place.
Exactly.
I'd only been too relaxed on Saturday, but he's in a good place, and you know, it's good. He feels that way. He's enjoying it. He's enjoying the big stage. He's on the big stage now, and this is going to be something special. This fight, there's no doubt about it.
I just wonder if Fabio Wardley if Frazer Clarke is somewhere watching him. He didn't take his eyes off him yesterday. If he's watching him now, he's thinking, what's going on here? He's just taking his trainer on the pads.
Well, he'll find out what's going on Saturday night, because that's when it counts.
Absolutely.
We had the undercard announced yesterday for the rematch between Tyson and Alexander Usyk in December, and the next step on the road for Moses Itauma is Dempsey McKean.
It's a good fight.
That is a good fight, isn't it? And people talk about getting fighters in the early stages, a mix of styles and a mix of everything, really. And that has he been chosen, Dempsey McKean, with that in mind? But also when he's a high-level fighter.
First of all, he's got one loss, and that loss was against Hrgovic, and he was 12 rounds with Hrgovic. Got to the 12th round with him. So you look at Hrgovic against Daniel Dubois, you know how dangerous he is early on in a fight, and this kid's still a teenager. Moses is still a teenager. This is a big step up for him. And this guy's going to try and old man him. He's going to have experience. He's going to try and put it on him. And it's been interesting to see how Moses deals with it. This is a very, very significant fight for him at this stage of his career.
Well, Moses is just one of the stories in the heavyweight division right now. It feels like there's so many. There's a new fight being made every day, a new story, a new chapter. Can you remember a time recently where we've seen the heavyweight division so alive, Frank?
It's absolutely on fire. You know, Riyadh season's made a lot of this happen, and that's why this has been so good for boxing. It's why everybody, I hope and I do believe, they all appreciate it, especially this heavyweight division now. The fights are happening on a regular basis, big fights. You looked at the undercard. you know, and the undercard and the show that's being put together for next year, early next year, there's some fights on there that are going to set you, well, you're going to love them. Real good heavyweight fights. The heavyweight division is on fire with good fighters who are fighting regularly and delivering good, top quality fights. Every fight. None of them have been a bore. They've all been exciting fights.
And it's changed the careers of so many fighters, the trajectories. You look at Daniel Dubois and how his heart was, you know, he was down. And then suddenly he's in there with Big Baby Miller, he's in there with Ergovic, he's in there with AJ.
This time last year, you know, people saying that's his lot. It shows what you can do. If you believe in yourself, you've got the grit and determination, which he's shown, and he's come through, and now he's the man.
I can't believe it's been a year, by the way, Frank. We've had a year of Riyadh season, knockout event after knockout event. It's all gone so quickly, though.
Well, look what it's being opened up with. I mean, this fight is this unification fight is probably one of the best fights to take place in the last 5 years. It's a great, great fight. You know, 4 belts on the line, 2 undefeated fighters. One's got the perfect record, 20 fights, 20 knockouts. The other ones are in Bivol's tremendous boxers. The Brits have seen them. They've beaten all the Brits they've entered the ring with. And what did we get the last time when all the belts were on the line? We got a tremendous fight with Tyson and Usyk. This will be up there with it.
Fabio Wardley.
Well, Fabio Wardley completes his workout here, gets a few photos done. He's got the Ipswich on. One day he wants to fight at Portman Road. If he keeps winning, I'm sure he can, Frank.
If he keeps winning, it'll happen. All he's got to do is keep winning. We'll make it happen.
But it's worked so far. Everything
he's done doing. Everything that's been asked of him up to us yet, that's for sure.
Tell us a little bit. What is your favourite sort of Riyadh season memory so far? It's been a year.
Bloody hell. I think the Tyson and Usyk, such an exciting fight. Best heavyweight fight of the 21st century. You know, that's a legacy fight that people are talking about and will talk about for years. And obviously the 5v5.
Well, yeah, that was a great night. As you can see on the screen behind us, the video game Undisputed is out. Let's have a little look at this.
Champions are not born. They're forged.
The world is watching.
Crowned in the ring. It takes the heart of a lion, the mind of a strategist, and the soul of a warrior. Every challenge is an opportunity.
What a masterpiece tonight. How is he still on his feet?
Every setback, a lesson. It demands an unbroken will that refuses to bow.
Do you believe this?
This is not just about winning. This is about turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. Building a legacy and becoming undisputed.
And it's an instant classic.
Undisputed. Available now.
Well, that game looks pretty special. Frank, I don't know when was the last time you played the PlayStation or anything, but do you want a game?
Certainly.
Okay.
Yeah, when are we doing that?
Don't know, but we'll put a little wager on it. Let's head over to Thomas Triber.
The reigning and defending WBC, IBF, WBO, and Ring Magazine Unified Light Heavyweight Champion of the World, Artur Beterbiev.
Well, there is, very simply, the most destructive force in world boxing. He stares through his opponents. He has knocked out every man in a professional ring that has stood before him. He has never heard the final bell. His opponents have never heard the final bell. Will Dmitry Bivol hear the final bell? We'll find out on Saturday night. History in Riyadh.
It's going to be absolutely sensational. It's such a good fight. It's got everything you could possibly want. A bit of a backstory in that they go away back. They didn't have too much to do with each other on the national team, but there is still that aspect to it. They're both undefeated. They bring different kinds of things to the ring, and their mentality is exactly the same. I just love it. I can't wait for it to start because it's so difficult to know what's going to happen. It's almost impossible to know what's going to happen with this.
Yeah, very difficult. Look, my guess from speaking and hearing people that Bivol's probably a slight favourite, but that's not how I see it. I fancy Beterbiev, and I don't just fancy him. I really pick him. Do you know what I mean? He's just been so impressive last couple of fights. And I know he's pushing on, and you do think, is this fight going to be that one where he gets old overnight? Certainly, the legs of Bivol and the movement and the changing the angles, he'll be testing them. But I don't know. Beterbiev to me is just so good.
I'll be honest, I can't get enough of this guy. I know the interviews are often short and one-word answers, but maybe I'm just a glutton for punishment because I love interviewing him.
The thing about him is that he's perfectly pleasant company. Yeah. He's a friendly man. He's a nice man. It's as simple as that. He is a nice man. And he will happily answer any question you have. He doesn't mind doing it. He doesn't turn up on set moody and rude and unpleasant and trying to intimidate anyone. He is a very amiable fellow until the bell goes, and then things are different. Then he turns into a different animal altogether. And that's the same for every single fighter. They're all completely different away from the ring than they are inside it. But the switch in this guy is profound. And it's the same for Bivol. Like I said, they've got very, very similar mentalities. But there is something terrifying about somebody who approaches something so potentially damaging, which is what boxing is, with no emotion.
Yeah.
None whatsoever, not a shred.
Completely devoid of emotion, and we're getting a little look. Do you want to have a little go at that, Andy, the little workout there?
I can't do that. just to confirm to the people watching it, if they suspected that I can do this, I can't do this. And this is just something that, again, he will have done for years and years and years and years. And we had a little look at him last night, just around the corner at the Mike Tyson gym, and he wasn't doing anything special. But when you watch people like him train, Matt, and you look at, and you know the backstory, you know the academy he would have been through on the Russian boxing team, how kind of regimented that is, and it's the same with the Cubans and all those kinds of fighters. These little drills we're seeing him do now, he would have been doing these for the last 25, 30 years.
He could do them with his eyes closed, and probably does.
Well, this is always a fun public workout trick. Again, I certainly could not do this, Andy. I reckon you could have a little go, but this the old tennis ball around the head, always good fun at a workout. Lomachenko's done it over the years.
It is. It's a bit of a crowd pleaser, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mark Ramsey just watching on over the ropes there. He's trained him from the very beginning as a pro when he arrived in Canada, which for some people was a little bit of a surprising choice that he made after the amateur success he had. Two-time European champion, world champion, a silver medal at the World Championships, an Olympian. A bit unlucky, really, that it didn't go his way at the Olympics in 2012, because he lost an absolutely sensational quarter-final to Alexander Usyk, boxing up a heavyweight. He was never really a full-blown heavyweight as an amateur, he said to us yesterday. At that point, it went from 81 kilos to 91 kilos, and he was about 85, so he was giving away a decent amount of weight, probably, and that's why he was able to come down to light heavy as a pro. And the fact, again, the fact that he didn't win an Olympic gold medal, did everything but, will be a reason why not as many people will know who he is as they should.
Well, you touched on the amateur fight with Alexander Usyk, of course, the quarter-final. He does have a win over Alexander Usyk in the amateurs as well. Not many fighters can say that. He did well as an amateur, Beterbiev. So, once again, listen, we've talked about it. This isn't just boxer versus puncher. This is boxer against boxer who can punch.
Yeah, 100%. He put Usyk down as well in the amateurs with a whack to the body, which is something that people question about Usyk every now and again. You know, that might be a little bit of a weakness, but this man has found a way to put down every single pro that he's faced, to stop every single pro that he's faced, and he's been down a couple of times, a flash knockdown against Jeff Page, then a more serious one against Callum Johnson, but he's dangerous when he's hurt. You know, there are no circumstances in which he is not dangerous.
Absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to the interview, not particularly envying Olivia here, but let's see. We will see, Andy. We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, very good.
Artur, how did it feel in here? You feeling good? You look good. You look ready.
Yeah, I'm feeling not bad.
I feel like you're almost done with all of this and you just want to get in the ring on Saturday night. Is that how you feel?
Yes.
How? I don't think I'm going to get much more, or am I? How has this fight camp been for you? Have you prepared for this fight in any way differently that you've prepared for your other fights? Please don't just say no.
No. Yeah, for every opponent we do some specific work, but also for this fight too. But main work is always hard and strong.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, he was certainly a man of few words, Artur Beterbiev. Thomas Treiber about to announce Dmitry Bivol. Delighted to have Fabio Wardley with us, who we'll have a chat to very shortly.
Legend tells, at the peak of the highest mountain in all the lands, there lay dormant for thousands of years a mystical crown, untouched, with the power to rule all of mankind. Lusted by men. Willing to die for its gift. Sacrificing everything. Before them, a terrifying journey awaits.
In my lifetime, I have seen many strong and brave warriors pass this way to claim the crown. I have not seen them since.
Unspeakable horrors. Relentless agony. A wasteland of the fallen. Hunted from the shadows. They danced with death. But the two defied the fate of mortal. Knocking down thousands before them. Brave up the path to glory. Challenging every fiber of their being. While two emerged undefeated. There could be only one possible outcome. For one to wield the power to rule them all.
Welcome to the ring, undefeated, with 23 wins, 12 of his 23 wins coming by way of knockout. He is the reigning and defending WBA and IBO light heavyweight champion of the world, Dmitry Bivol.
Well, here comes Dmitry Bivol, the unbeaten WBA and IBO World Light Heavyweight Champion, coming out to a little bit of AC and DC, and he's going to have to avoid the KO on Saturday. Delighted to be in the company of Fabio Wardley. Fabio, you're looking for a big knockout yourself, but just tell me about Bivol. You must love this guy.
Look, he is... he's a consummate professional, and also he's just a special boxer. The way I love watching him box because the flow of it, it's almost like similar kind of Lomachenko Usyk-esque, where it feels almost like a dance, where it's just everything flows so nicely. His punches just flow off each other so comfortably. Nothing seems too heavy or forced, or he's wound or shot up from behind his back or anything. So yeah, he's really someone to look at. Also take a lot of tips from of how he goes about his business.
Well, also, listen, you are on the undercard of a historic fight, the first undisputed light heavyweight champion of the four-belt era. How does it feel to be on such a big card?
Yeah, look, a privilege. I've said it in as many interviews as I can, as many times as I can, that it's an honour, it's a privilege. Thank you to His Excellency, thank you to Frank Warren, thank you to QP, thank you to you, maybe helped out somewhere along the line, I don't know. Thanks, basically, because look, these are always such spectacles, such big events, and it's always a privilege, and it's always fantastic to be a part of it. It's always why I want to try and enjoy it as much as possible.
How much did you enjoy the Undisputed game earlier on? Because let me tell you, Fabio, I've seen a video. I've seen you get chinged on Undisputed and then smash the telly up. What's going on?
Let's just say I'm a competitive guy. I don't really take losing too well, so maybe we'll leave it at that. But yeah, I think that might be coming off my bill at the end of this, the TV and that. But it is what it is. The inner competitor came out in me. It came out a bit too heavy, a bit too strong. So he was supposed to be reserved for Saturday night, but came out a little bit. We're in a boxing game, felt a bit realistic, lost my cool a bit. But I'm cool now, so you're safe. Don't panic. It's all alright.
I mean, thankfully that is the case. But I guess you can't lose your cool on Saturday. You said something about Frazer Clarke getting perhaps a little bit, giving too much in his interviews, maybe getting too emotional. Do you think he could lose his head on Saturday?
Yeah, I think he could.
I think he could. I think if you speak to him, I think by his own admission, I think he would admit he was too emotionally invested in the last fight as well. And he got sucked into what people have been calling my kind of fight, I say with air quotes, but making it a bit of a war, a bit of a tear-up when he is the Olympian, the GB boxer, the medalist and all of that. He should be boxing, not drawn into a war. So maybe that's a sign of emotional vulnerability.
Tell me about your workout. You took Rob on the pads.
Yeah, look, I thought I'd mix it up. Again, I'm always one for entertaining the fans in the ring and outside the ring, or at least on fight night and outside of fight night as well, because, look, fans take their time, they invest in you, they want a lot from you, they pay their good hard money to come watch you on TV, however. They deserve the respect to be given something, to be shown something. And look, whether it's me doing a little bit on pads, me messing around and taking my coach on pads as well, look, it's all entertainment. So I'm just here to deliver a smile for everyone.
Well, nobody was more entertained than Andy Clarke by your workout.
No, I was a big fan. Because when the bell goes, what you're doing in there is a very, very serious business. Boxing almost it's kind of too serious to be serious all of the time. So when you get the opportunity to have some fun, I'm all for it. We were watching the promo. You haven't had the chance to be in one yet, but I feel like when that day does come, it needs to be some kind of skit on. It needs to be Gotham City, Batman, whoever Batman's going to be. But you're definitely the Joker.
Yeah. I think I'm definitely going to get whatever. If I have the privilege to come back and they do a big VT for me, I think whatever position I get will be the comedy side of some sort of Joker or some sort of comedian. So, but I'll take it. I don't mind.
Well, let's hear from Dmitry Bivol.
Dmitry, you look ready. How are you feeling? How was that? Did you enjoy it?
Of course, I'm enjoying every minute. And how is it? How is every time before fight?
I asked Artur this as well. Obviously, it's an undisputed fight. Have you prepared any differently in this fight camp than you would previously for your previous fight?
You know, I always treat my fights very serious, and I couldn't say that before I wasn't doing something well. I always trying to be in the best shape. I always trying to work hard, and at the same time, we always have different opponents.
Do your feelings and emotions change from yesterday, today, tomorrow, Friday, and then Saturday? The closer we get to fight night, how do those emotions change for you?
Emotion, you want to eat more and more and more because you are doing your weight. And of course, mentally, you are getting more ready, more focused.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Well, that was Dmitry Bivol, one half of the main event on Saturday. The first undisputed world light heavyweight champion of the four-belt era will be crowned. We have now watched Artur Beterbiev do those press-ups with the fists and all of that. Andy Clarke does that with his eyes closed. We've also just seen Dmitry Bivol. Matt, what did you think of the workouts?
Yeah, look, no, I didn't expect anyone to, do 6-man rounds on the pads and show us their game plan, you know what I mean? It was like, they come in, do what they have to, soak up a bit of the atmosphere, feel the energy. You know, we're only on Wednesday, there's still the press conference tomorrow, there's still the weigh-in then Friday, so, it's all about conserving energy at this point.
Well, I think that was actually quite a good question from Olivia to Dmitry Bivol, asking how do the emotions change now from day to day, and he did just say, I'm just sort of getting hungrier.
Yeah, and that's the basic reality of it, is that they've still got to make weight, and you want to make sure you get it right. You have to hit 175 or just under for 20 minutes. That's all it has to be, and they do have it down to that kind of a science. I feel like it is pretty straightforward for Bivol, if there's ever such a thing, because he's not a big light heavyweight, whereas Beterbiev, from 85 kilos as an amateur, he's had to come down to more like 80, 79 point something to make 175, and he's been doing it for over a decade as he's been getting older. So it probably is getting harder, but at the same time, Eddie said yesterday he feels like he's looking a bit pinched, but I don't think he is. I think he's looking pretty good, to be honest.
I think we're looking for something, aren't we, fight week? You're always searching, his eyes are a bit funny. I don't know. I think they're both consummate professionals. They'll both be bang on. They'll both bring their A game. Look, the only question mark in terms of Beterbiev is the age. Does he get old? Is this that fight? Certainly the younger, fresher legs of Bivol will be trying to make him use those older legs, constantly getting turning, constantly resetting. You know, that's tiring as well, let me tell you, chasing someone like Bivol around the ring. It's a fantastic match. We keep saying it. Probably the best fight that can be made in boxing. Both undefeated. Everyone's got a different opinion. I would say that Bivol's probably the favourite, but like I said, personally, I fancy Beterbiev. He's just looked so good lately.
Well, it is undefeated versus undefeated for undisputed, just like the first fight was between Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury. The rematch is set. They are reignited December 21st. Absolutely cannot wait for that. Early thoughts, Andy Clarke, on that rematch.
I like what Tyson's been saying recently. I like where he's got his head to, because you need that fire. And one thing that occurred to me the other day, Frank talked about it earlier when he said it's the best heavyweight fight for years and years and years. I think it was. Yeah. And I think it's been underrated in the UK because Tyson didn't win. I think if he'd won, then that fight would be much more celebrated, because it was an unbelievable fight. It toed and froed, and that great fights after to and fro. Usyk started well, Tyson got into it, he looked like he had him where he wanted him, maybe he can stop him. Usyk grinds his way back in, nearly knocks him out, Fury comes right back at the end. It was unreal, and it was really close. And another narrative that seems to have emerged is that Tyson got schooled by Usyk. I mean, where do these things come from? The rematch is going to be tremendous.
Listen, loads of drama, two really clever fighters, so it'll be, both of them will have analysed their performance and their opponent's performance and the whole fight, and it'll be interesting who comes up with the better game plan and who can execute it. That's the thing, you know, both of them are pushing on, you know what I mean? That fight would have took a lot out of both of them. It'll be interesting to see who it took more out of.
Well, absolutely cannot wait to find out. That is, of course, December 21st, but it's all about Saturday night. So I'm just going to... you've already told me Beterbiev, that's who you back to win. Andy, you told me earlier on Beterbiev. It's been about a couple of hours now. You do change your mind from time to time. You're still going with Artur?
I'll say he's my man of the day, Artur. For Wednesday fight week, Artur is my man of the day. I might change my mind tomorrow. It's a truly great fight.
And you have all the rights in the world to change your mind whenever you like,
and
Andy.
by the way, I'm going with Beterbiev, but I think it's going to be close. I think it'll go down to the wire.
One of those fights that only Riyadh season can deliver. Thank you so much, Matt Macklin. Thank you so much, Andy Clarke. And thank you for joining us. That was the workout. We are now just days away from the big one. Undefeated versus undefeated for undisputed. The 4-crown showdown. The first undisputed light heavyweight champion of the 4-belt era will be crowned on Saturday. Join us tomorrow for the press conference. And you never know, you might get something. We'll see you then.